It started like any other quiet Saturday morning in the Evergreen Meadows subdivision. I had just poured myself a cup of coffee and was getting ready to spend the day cleaning out the garage, something I'd been putting off for weeks. My wife was still asleep, the neighborhood was peaceful, and I thought it would be a calm, productive day. I couldn't have been more wrong. When I stepped outside, I noticed something odd. My garage door was already open. I froze mid-step. I was sure I'd closed it the night before. I always did. My stomach dropped as I realized what that meant. Someone had been in my garage. As I cautiously approached, I saw her, Karen, the self-appointed enforcer of the HOA, standing right inside my garage like she owned the place. She was going through my shelves, inspecting my tools, my camping gear, even my old boxes of car parts. "What are you doing in my garage?" I demanded, my voice echoing across the driveway. Karen turned slowly, holding my cordless drill like she was evaluating it for auction. "Oh, good morning." "Mike," she said in that sickly sweet tone she used when she was about to be a nightmare. "This space technically counts as community property. You shouldn't keep things in here that aren't HOA approved." I blinked in disbelief. "Community property? This is my garage. It's part of my house." She crossed her arms. "Actually, the HOA bylaws state that any visible storage area that affects community appearance can be regulated. I'm just checking for compliance." She said it like breaking into my property was perfectly normal. I grabbed my phone and started recording. "You're trespassing, Karen. You need to leave right now." She looked stunned but didn't back down. "I'm doing my duty as HOA president. You can't record me without my consent." "Oh, I can," I said firmly. "Because you're on my property." Karen's expression hardened. "If you post that video, I'll have the HOA fine you. Don't forget, Mike, I know the rules." I didn't care. I told her I was calling the police. That's when she panicked. She ran out, slamming my garage door shut behind her. But the damage was done. Some of my tools were missing, and she had clearly rifled through everything. That morning changed everything. I thought she'd apologize or the HOA would make her stop. Instead, that break-in was just the beginning of a full-blown neighborhood war. By Monday morning, the entire neighborhood had heard about the garage incident. Karen, of course, had her own version of events. She claimed I had verbally assaulted her, and that she was simply performing a routine inspection for the betterment of the community. That's how I ended up at the HOA's emergency meeting, sitting in a stuffy clubhouse with folding chairs, bad coffee, and a dozen nosy neighbors whispering behind my back. Karen stood at the front like a queen addressing her subjects. "We must ensure every resident maintains community standards," she began, dramatically holding up a clipboard. "Some homeowners have been storing unsightly or hazardous materials." I entered Mike's garage to confirm a potential violation. I stood up immediately. "You broke in, Karen? The garage was locked." "You had no right to enter my property." She gave me that smug, tight-lipped smile she'd perfected over years of tormenting people. "The garage door was partially open," she said smoothly. I merely took a look to make sure everything was safe. A few neighbors nodded. Others looked uncomfortable. One man muttered, "This is getting ridiculous." I pulled out my phone and played the video. The room fell silent as Karen's voice filled the air. Calm, entitled, and unmistakably self-incriminating. "This space technically counts as community property," she said in the clip. Her face turned pale. "Looks like your routine inspection was trespassing," I said quietly, lowering the phone. "And if any of my property is missing, I'll be filing a police report." The HOA's vice president, Mr. Wilson, cleared his throat nervously. "Perhaps we can resolve this without escalating matters." "Without escalating?" I snapped. "She broke into my home. She went through my belongings." Karen glared at me, her voice trembling with fury. "You're making a huge mistake. You can't threaten the HOA." "I'm not threatening anyone," I replied. "I'm protecting my home." The meeting dissolved into shouting. Neighbors took sides, some defending me, others terrified of crossing Karen. The HOA board refused to admit fault but promised to review the bylaws. As I left, Karen called after me. "You'll regret this, Mike. The HOA always wins." Her words followed me out the door like a curse. That night, I found a notice taped to my front door and a violation letter. Apparently, my garage door trim was the wrong color. It was her move, And I realized this wasn't going to stop until one of us broke. By the end of the week, Karen had turned my life into a nightmare. Every day I found another HOA notice taped to my front door or mailbox. Unauthorized lawn ornament, excessive vehicle noise, improperly stored trash bins. All lies. She was clearly targeting me. My neighbors whispered apologies when they saw me, but no one dared to stand up to her. They'd seen what happened to others who tried. Endless fines, harassment, and mysterious violations that never stopped. The final straw came on Thursday morning. I woke up to find my car towed. The note on my windshield space read, "Vehicle parked in violation of community rules, HOA enforcement." I was furious. That car had been parked in my own driveway. Karen had truly crossed the line now. I stormed over to her house. She was outside trimming her roses, smiling like she'd been expecting me. "Where's my car, Karen?" I demanded. "Oh," she said innocently. "The HOA received a complaint about vehicles obstructing neighborhood aesthetics. I had it removed for review. Don't worry, you can get it back once the fine is paid." "You had no authority to tow my vehicle," I shouted. She shrugged. "Authority? I am the authority." I clenched my fists. "You're abusing your power." "And you," she hissed, stepping closer, "are setting a bad example for this community. People are talking, Mike. Maybe you're not HOA material after all." Her arrogance made my blood boil. That was the moment I decided I wasn't going to play defense anymore. I was going to fight back. That evening, I filed a police report for trespassing and property theft. I also contacted a lawyer who specialized in HOA abuse cases. When I told him what had happened, he whistled and said, "You're not the first one she's done this to." Apparently, several other homeowners had quietly moved away after being pressured by Karen's constant fines and fabricated violations. But no one had ever fought her. Until now. A few days later, an officer showed up at my door with a follow-up report. He'd reviewed my video and confirmed that Karen had no legal right to enter my garage. She was officially being investigated for trespassing. That evening, as I stood in my driveway watching the sunset, Karen drove by slowly, glaring at me from behind her tinted window. She didn't smile this time. For the first time since she broke into my garage, I felt like I had the upper hand. The following week, things got real. Karen tried to act like nothing had happened, still strutting around the neighborhood with her clipboard, barking at people about weeds and mailbox. Paint! But something in her eyes had changed, a flicker of panic every time she saw me. She knew her reign was cracking. Then the letter arrived. A notice from the county sheriff's office. Karen was officially being charged with trespassing and theft of private property. The news spread through the community like wildfire. By the next HOA meeting, the clubhouse was packed, standing room only. Everyone wanted to see how the once untouchable Karen would explain herself. I sat quietly in the back as the murmurs filled the air. Karen finally entered, looking pale and furious. Her usual confidence was gone. She slammed her binder onto the table and hissed, "These accusations are ridiculous. I've done nothing but protect this neighborhood." But the HOA members weren't buying at this time. Mr. Wilson, the vice president, stood up and cleared his throat. "Karen, we reviewed the security footage from the clubhouse cameras. It clearly shows you entering Mike's property without permission." A wave of gasps rolled through the crowd. Karen's jaw dropped. "You're taking his side?" One of the neighbors shouted. "You towed my car last year for no reason." Another added, "You fined me because my kid left a bike outside." Dozens of voices rose at once, all of them angry, fed up, and finally unafraid. Karen slammed her hands on the table. "I am this hoe," she screamed. "No," I said, standing up, holding my phone. "You were." I pressed play. The video of her in my garage filled the room again, her voice echoing. "This space technically counts as community property." That line sealed her fate. The board voted on the spot to remove her from her position as HOA president. Effective immediately, her face turned red, tears welling up in her eyes as she screamed that it was all a setup. But no one listened. 2 weeks later, the police came to her house with a warrant. She was arrested for trespassing and misuse of HOA authority. The neighborhood watched from their porches as the Queen Bee of Evergreen. Meadows was escorted into a squad car, still yelling about community standards. Peace returned slowly. The fines stopped, the tension faded, and people started smiling again. As for me, I replaced my garage locks, installed new security cameras, and finally finished cleaning that space. Every time I walk past it, I smile and think, that's my garage, not community property, not hers. Mine. Months passed after Karen's arrest. The neighborhood had never been calmer. The new HOA board was fair, reasonable, and actually helpful. For the first time since moving into Evergreen Meadows, I felt like I could breathe. But peace, it turned out, doesn't last forever. One cool spring morning, I was mowing my lawn when I noticed a moving truck down the street. Curiosity got the better of me, and when I saw who stepped out of the passenger seat, my stomach turned to ice. It was Karen. She was back. She looked different, thinner, older, her once perfect hair now streaked with gray. But that same sharp, judgmental glare was there. She spotted me instantly and smiled. Well, looks like I'm your neighbor again, she said, waving like we were old friends. I couldn't believe it. You're not allowed back here. You were banned after what happened, she shrugged. Technically, I wasn't banned. The bylaws only stated I couldn't serve on the board again. And this house, she pointed to the property 2 doors down, belongs to my sister. I'm just helping her settle in. I knew what that meant. She was plotting her comeback. That evening, I checked my mailbox and found a handwritten note. We need to talk about restoring order to this community. K. The next day, strange things started happening again. Someone reported, my trash bin's being left out too long. A new neighbor got a warning letter about lawn height. But the HOA hadn't sent it. It had Karen written all over it. I decided to confront her before things got worse. I walked over to her sister's house and knocked. She opened the door, holding a cup of tea, smiling sweetly. Oh, Mike, I was just thinking of you. Cut the act, I said. You start your games again, and I'll go straight to the sheriff. Her smile faded. I'm not doing anything wrong this time. But you should know some people miss how things used to be. That sent a chill down my spine. She wasn't acting alone anymore. Later that week, I noticed a few familiar faces from the old HOA meetings hanging around her porch. The same people who once defended her. They were whispering, taking notes, watching. Karen wasn't back just to visit. She was rebuilding her little empire, one neighbor at a time. And this time, I knew it wouldn't end with a meeting. This time, it was going to be war. It had been weeks since Karen returned to the neighborhood, and every day felt more uneasy. The peace we'd fought so hard to restore was slipping away. One anonymous complaint at a time. Trash bins mysteriously got moved to the street on the wrong day. Someone left fake violation notes taped to people's doors. A few of the old HOA loyalists, the ones Karen used to manipulate, were meeting at her sister's house every Friday night. Everyone knew what was happening, but no one wanted to believe it. One evening, my neighbor Rachel stopped by. Mike, she whispered, I think Karen's planning something big. I saw her taking pictures of your house again, and she's been saying the HOA board is corrupt now. I wasn't surprised. Karen couldn't stand losing control. The next morning, the HOA group chat lit up, urgent community, vote tomorrow. Karen had somehow gathered enough signatures to force a special election to reform the board. The rumor was she planned to reinstate herself as HOA, president through a loophole she'd found in the bylaws. I knew I couldn't let that happen. That night, I gathered every neighbor. I trusted and shared the evidence, her trespassing video, the police report, even the fake violation letters. People were shocked, furious, and finally ready to take a stand. When the community meeting started, the tension was thick. Karen stood at the front again, acting calm and confident, her clipboard in hand like old times. This board has failed you, she said. We need leadership that cares. I can bring order back to Evergreen Meadows. I stepped forward, holding up a folder. You mean the same kind of order, where you broke into my garage and called it community property? The crowd murmured. Karen's face tightened. That was a misunderstanding. No, I interrupted, it was abuse of power, and you were arrested for it. I handed copies of the police documents to the current board. Karen tried to snatch them away, but someone pulled out their phone and started recording. That was it. The crowd turned. People shouted at her, demanding answers. Karen's voice trembled as she tried to regain control, but the noise drowned her out. Within minutes, the board voted to ban her from all HOA meetings permanently. As security escorted her out, she glared back at me with pure hatred. "You think this is over?" she hissed. Maybe it wasn't. But as the door closed behind her, the neighborhood erupted in applause. For the first time in months, I felt hope again, like Evergreen. Meadows might finally belong to the people who actually lived there.